As I lay down on this bed, I want to talk about my life because a lot of times I have reached the end of the limit of how much I could take with regards to stress, anxiety, and just life in general. So I came up with Kemi Talks Life in my Kemi Talks brand because I think my life is interesting, but there was one thing I could never tell anybody, which I'm going to say now. I really don't know why I'm here. My entire life has been dedicated to suffering. A lot of you, I'm trying to hold back tears, but a lot of you think that I have this life that's so perfect. Oh, my family, they're elites, this one, that one. I don't even know if they're my family. So I have to bring you this series with no makeup, looking straight in the camera and telling you about my life. My name is Kemi Olunloyo. My family's name is Omalolu Olunloyo, hyphenated after my dad, but most of us cut the Omalolu off because it became too long in many things. Applications, credit cards, people gonna pronounce it, government, paperwork abroad. So on this, I'm going to use Kemi Olunloyo. It's hard not to cry, but I have to. If you're going to ask me what was the saddest part of my life, I don't know which one I'll choose. Raising my son, and it's my oldest son, who was profoundly autistic. And today, he's going to be 35 in February. I raised him without his father. His father destroyed my life. I was only 22. I met a 30-year-old man at a party. It was actually a home party, a house party. And we became friends in the next 2 weeks. We had sex, and I got pregnant. But I was only visiting London from America. And so he just thought I was a one-night stand and I should get rid of the baby. I made a decision to keep my child. And I went back to America. I had my son. I went to school with my son. A lot of my classmates helped me babysit my son if our classes didn't clash. I'm doing these videos because I have great-grandchildren who are going to see it. I don't know them yet. I may not be here when they arrive. My great-grandchildren, I'm likely to see my grandchildren, but my great-grandchildren will know me and what I went through. Because there's something called generational curses. And I don't even know whether I'm part of that. But it's just like, why am I here? For what? There are points where I thought about suicide. It's called suicidal thoughts. I've shared it with my fans, especially after PTSD, being arrested and thrown in Port Harcourt prison, detained for 6 months, 3 arrests. Everyone in the case is dead. I cursed them out in the courtroom. The 3 people are going to die in the case, and they all died. Only person left was the defendant, the plaintiff. Do I have some kind of power? They say I do, but it's tough. It's Kemi Talks Life, and I'm going to tell you about my life. Every night I'll have a new video, and I want you guys to watch it. And leave comments. because you might be able to learn something from it. Yeah. I'm Dr. Kemi Olunloyo. Dr. Kemi for short. Every night I have a shower. After my shower, I'll come up in my bed and I'm coming to tell you the story of my life. Some of the videos are going to be edited because I'm going to insert other things into it, but you're going to enjoy this. It's a docu-series. I'm going to do a video every night, and we're going to take it as long as we can. I'm going to start with getting pregnant at 22. I used it for the 23 challenge, that I had a $50,000 a year job as a pharmacist, and my little baby was 6 months. And it's Robert Olunloyo Ogunade. My son just goes with Eniton Olunloyo. He doesn't use his Ogunade last name. He never knew his father. He never asked. And I never said anything. Until my son turned 25 and started posting on Facebook, Happy Father's Day to all the fathers. His friends are fathers. He's 34 now. Today is 16th of September, 2021. And then he'll say, my dad died before I was born. I kept screenshots. And I told him his father is not dead. His father is alive. I told him his father's name was Babatunde Ogunade. They call him Babs Ogunade. And that he should go Google his name. He'll see everything. That his father was head of Lagos State basketball. Later to become the executive vice president of the Nigerian Basketball Federation. My son didn't even know what I was talking about. He's a high-functioning autistic, but his friends did it for him. And they printed out his father's pictures and showed it to him and told him, you look like this man. You need to listen to what your mother told you. I was shocked. One morning at 5 a.m. when my eyes opened and I grabbed my phone, the internet was on and the feed on Instagram just showed me a picture of my son and what appeared to be his father. Yeah, Babs Ogunade. Mr. Ogunade was my son, and my son wrote, after 34 years, I finally met my dad. I thought it was a dream. I opened my eyes twice, and it was not a dream. I was looking at the picture. Instablog Nigeria came to me in the DM shortly after 6 and said I should confirm this, and I confirmed it. I said, they're both wearing masks, but it looks like my son's father. What was the first thing going through my mind was, where did he find my son? I called him out on Father's Day 2021 that he impregnated me at 22 when he was 30 and he fled. Never took care of me. I lost my livelihood. In my 20s, 30s, instead of having a life, going to the club, going out with my friends, I was just watching my baby and studying. I didn't have a life. I lost everything. Meanwhile, he moved on. He got married, had other kids, everything. Fast forward, he's going to be 65 now, and I just turned 57. Babs Ogunade lives right here in Lagos, right here on this island where I live. I have not seen him since May of 1986. He never came to me to ask me where my son was. He never came to me to say he was sorry for what happened. I just saw my son with him in America. Who directed him to America to meet my son? Who was behind it all? I can only suspect my family because I'm estranged from my family. My mom and dad betrayed me. So what I said on BBC Yoruba interview is that they're a horrible set of parents and that I was born to the wrong family. The kind of hate they have for me, they hate the fact that I'm a journalist and they don't like journalism. They don't like the truth. Both my parents, my mom and dad, are separated. but both of them have a lot in common, and it's called evil. My mom and dad always accuse each other of juju. When my brother died, my mom accused my dad. My dad accused my mom of killing my brother. He was hit by a car in the UK and died the next day. My brother's estranged from my family. He left on January 1st, 1985 and never came back to Nigeria. There are a lot of things that I tell you here, and today's not the first day I'm going to tell you about my family. I did a whole series. My dad turned 80. And people call me names. I don't know why they call me names. I'm telling you what happened. My parents were very abusive emotionally. Physically is nothing. But my father, he tortured one of my brothers. I'll get into it. I watched that when I was 13, and it affected me psychologically. These are people you see outside that they're all distinguished, proper, but inside, they're monsters. Total monsters. And the only thing I can suggest to you is that my parents, who I haven't seen for 3 years, I moved to Lagos, are the ones that linked Babatunde Ogwande to his son in America. My son lives in Philadelphia. My sister, who I no longer talk to, Yemi, she's the guardian there. Because when we left Canada, he opted to go to the United States. And the State Department handed him over to the state and got him an apartment. They got him a job and everything. And my sister is the guardian when it comes to emergency, because I don't live there. At the end of the day, who linked Mr. Ogwande to my sister, who would be the one to link my son to? And no one told me anything. I was never contacted. It literally seemed as if I was already dead and gone. They did all this without my knowledge. I'm an investigative journalist. I know a lot of things that people don't think I know. Even most of Bab's friends, they're acting as if nothing happened. Some of them don't want to get involved, and they know what's going on. I have conversations that some people don't know I've heard, and there's a lot. It's just total betrayal. Why didn't Babs Ogwande come to me and tell me, Kemi, I'm sorry. That's all. I'm sorry for what you went through. He owes me $102,000. Do you know that if I fly into the U.S. and apply for that $102,000, 50 million Naira, money that I can use right now to build a nice house and buy a car. Do you know that if I went to the U.S. and I went to Maryland and Philadelphia and filed for my child support, I will get it? I hope he's not carrying any form of U.S. documents. Someone told me that he has some kind of U.S. document. I don't know. But it can affect him through the State Department that he owes child support. It could affect his visas traveling in and out of America. They wouldn't give him a visa because he owes child support. An American, they just disconnect their passport. He's working in a position Nigerian Basketball Federation, that requires him to travel a lot. Some people might say, oh, this is dirty laundry. No, it's not dirty laundry. It's my life. I lived it. You didn't leave it. Were you there when my child was beating me up, biting me all over my body, smashing my head against the wall when he got violent? If you don't know what autism is, go Google it and see what some parents go through. Or just Google autism child police. You'll see a whole lot of results on Google of children killed by police because they were autistic. They became very violent, and the parents called 911. And when the police got there, they didn't know what to do. Many of the police officers will tell the child, put your hands up, do this, do that. The child does not understand, and they shoot the child, and the child ends up dead. Many, many accidents. And the parents will look at the police and say, I didn't tell you to kill my child. I had Officer Benton, Clay Benton, Baltimore Police Department, who also had an autistic child at home. Every time the 911 calls came, Officer Benton was with them. I will tell you stories that will shock you. I have one sheet of 911 calls for 1 year in my house in Owens Mills, Maryland. Boy strikes mother in the head. Boy punches, blows his mother. All kinds of stuff that 911 people recorded. Everything I went through will be said by the medical world as autism. But if I look at it in the spiritual world, it's as if my own family were behind this stuff that happened to me. My mother was practicing witchcraft throughout her life, and I found out just 4 years ago. Something my brother already knew and warned me about. I didn't believe it. Maybe it's a generational curse. Anyone that has contact with her becomes very, very evil, and I can't have that person as a friend again. Some of my friends will tell you. Some don't even know. That's why I don't mingle or talk to them anymore. Evil spirits are within my mother and passes it to other people, and it affects you. You need to be spiritual to know these things. I'm not religious, I'm spiritual. At 57, where am I? The height of my career was when I was 30 years old. 34, I had a house. I bought a Toyota Land Cruiser. I had a great job. But what did I do? I went to work all the time. I met someone new. I had my second child. Oyinlade was taken away from me because of his autistic brother being very violent. He bit my son. He was 12, he bit my 8-year-old son throughout his left arm, bruises. Oyinlade was taken away at 8 years old, and I was given visitation. For safety purposes, he went to live with his dad. That visitation, I probably never took more than 1 or 2 visits. There were fights. I moved out of town. Flying to come and see my child became a real big burden. I left America, I moved to Canada. Today is 2021, and I haven't seen Oyinlade since 2003, Valentine's Day at his school. That famous picture of Valentine's Day with all 3 of my children, that's the last picture I have with me and all 3 of my children. Now, don't compare me to people that keep their children away from their fathers or any of that precious fanicality stuff, okay? My child was taken away from me because his brother was a violent, autistic boy. Okay, Precious Fanikayode was a bad mother. She had 7 knives and chased her children and her husband into a room with a knife. So don't compare me. My own child was taken away because of the danger in the house. It was a good thing. But I haven't seen Oyinlade for 18 years. 2003. We lived 18 years on Facebook Messenger. And FaceTime, not really FaceTime, but photos. I haven't really seen him to my face since 2003. We haven't done any live videos or anything live, but this thing he's talking about, FaceTime. I have an iPhone now, so I can do that with him. My mother would be like, oh, you'll see him soon, you'll see him soon. She was behind everything. How come she had the picture of my children inside a bowl, a sacrifice on her dressing table by her perfumes and lotions? My mother was evil. She was a witch. I've always said that. I did a video all about it. If you don't believe it, believe it. There'll be more. My oldest son, Editon, was named by Mr. Ogunwade's uncle. The person said their name was Kunle Ogunwade in 1986 when I was pregnant. That Mr. Kunle Ogunwade is now going to be 80 this year. He didn't remember me. I called him. After the call out of my baby daddy per Instablog on Father's Day, A whole lot of Ogwades reached out to me on Instagram DM. Men, women, old, young, everybody wanted to know. So Brother Babs fathered his oldest child with Kemi Olunloyo. Well, we both became famous. We both became public figures. But I call him Mr. Ogwade because he's old. Okay? Is someone that's 65 is supposed to retire in America. Even me, I'm old, but at the end of the day, you can see my gray hair. At the end of the day, the point remains, he never accepted his child. His mom even called me a slut. Can't be for my child. My son is 30, is old enough. His mother supported him and stood by him throughout. She died some years ago. Well, why did he go look for my child? I heard that my son is actually a prince and that he's in line to the throne. A very popular Nigerian city, a major royal kingdom in Yoruba land. My son is the heir to the throne. Because his father, Mr. Babatunde Ogwade, is in line to that throne. About 2 or 3 of them are in line to that throne. But because he's the oldest of his father, when it's time for them to choose a new king, you know how they use their oracles, Ifa. The Ifa thing is going to spot one child missing. A child they forgot. A child they rejected. Just like Joseph. His brothers rejected him. His family rejected him, and he became king. My son's grandmother rejected him. And his grandmother rejected him. His father rejected him. Everybody rejected him. Maybe one day my son will be the king. Tunde Ogwade destroyed his family. He destroyed mine, but he destroyed his. I understand that he has children with his ex-wife, and I'm sure there are 1 or 2 boys there. They might think they were the oldest, and they're not. It's my son. On the next episode, I'll give you details. Details of my hurt. God. Like I said, it's the 16th of September, 2021. This man came back to Nigeria after 30 days in Tokyo, America, with the Olympic basketball team, the Tigers. Somewhere in coming back from Tokyo, he went back to America and he met with my son. He told my son that I kept him away from him. He lied to my son. Though my son is a high-functioning autistic boy, my son got upset, called me and cursed me out. Even though he's almost 35, his brain functions mostly as an 18 or 19-year-old. The understanding is not a 35-year-old. My son was very, very upset. He said his father said that I did not allow him to see him. Throughout my 34 years raising that boy, Tunde did not call me, did not write me, did not do nothing. I didn't even know where he was until I used Google. How could he tell my son? That's why I got very, very upset. How do I get over this? He converted my son to my enemy. So I couldn't get my son back. I couldn't talk to my son. I couldn't get through to my son. He's autistic. Babs went to tell, they call him Babs. He went to tell his friends in Lagos that my son is cured of autism. Autism has a cure. I didn't know that his son looks just like him. It's like a junior of him. He acknowledged him. I don't know if they even did DNA tests. This is from somebody who said the child was not his own and told his entire family, I'm just a one-night stand. And they bought it and they stood by it. His grandmother died, never saw her oldest grandchild. And now my son is a prince. Is that why they went to look for my son? So that when the king dies, they'll be the next, I heard. And my son is also in line to that throne. Is that the reason? But no one consulted me. I laid a curse that whoever introduced him to my son in America without my knowledge, behind my back, God will punish them mercilessly. I don't care who it was. I don't care if it was my family member. But whoever did it will go through that curse. It's been a month now. My son has not called me, talked to me, nothing. I wrote on Instagram they can have each other. It's as if both of them don't even exist. That's how I feel right now. But I will tell my story and I'll let people know what I went through. Thanks for listening. We'll continue tomorrow. I'm Dr. Kemi in Lagos. Kemi Talks Life.